There he is. What's up, buddy?
How are you?
Can you hear me loud and clear?
No problems.
First of all, thank you everyone for being on. If this is your first time, this is a show that I do every single Wednesday. It's called 30 Minutes with Andy. It's normally from 1 to 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. And it's normally a Zoom and it's fed through Facebook Live, but my tech guy isn't here and I don't know how to do it. So this is why we're doing Zoom with Jason. Couple housekeeping things. Just make sure I've got everybody muted right now. Just make sure you stay muted throughout the call so we don't have any interruptions. Feel free to use the chat. If you look at the bottom, you'll see a little chat box. Feel free to talk away in there if you'd like to. Jason, you're here.
I'm here. And but I got the chat open, y'all, so I can see what you're writing. If you have questions, just ask them. But go ahead, Andy.
So I just want to introduce you. You're the head of industry and learning with KWRI. And you did the reason that I wanted you to come on here. Number one, you're the most dynamic speaker I have ever heard. And I've been telling people this, so don't let me down. Number two.
I tell you, it's kind of hard to go anywhere with that other than down. Please continue.
Listen, but seriously, you gave us a talk when I was in Texas with 70 other CEOs in Texas last month. And there were several of us that still talk on a week-to-week basis, and we talk about that talk all the time. And I'm like, how can we get that talk to everybody? So this is it. And it was organic relationships, and there's 2 types of agents and 3 tricks to winning. And so what I'm going to do is shut up, and I'm going to mute out, and I'm going to let you light it up for 25 minutes, and then we're going to tell everybody goodbye.
Well, I will do my best. I'll be completely candid with you, Andy. When I first started at KWRI, and anytime I was going to give a speech, they would say, well, you have to submit the bullet points or the slides. But I have some learning disabilities that make that really, really difficult. So I said, well, I can't do that. And they said, well, you can't actually expect us to put you on a stage if we don't know what you're going to say. And I said, not only is that what I'm expecting, but that's the only way I can do it. And it took a while, but now they let me do that. The challenge with it is I can never actually tell you what I said and do it again. I have no idea what I said. So let's do it like this. I will give you a quick 5-minute, 10-minute intro, and I'll talk about something that I think is wildly important to all real estate agents. And then in the chat, ask any question you want, and I'll give you the model and the way that I think about the answer. This only fails miserably if no one asks a question. So for the audience with your camera on, thumbs up if that's okay. Can we do that? Awesome. Well, let's do it. Here is, go ahead, Andy. What were you going to say?
If I can give you a 10-second reminder.
Yeah.
When you went off on organic relationships and the proximity of relationships.
Got it. I can do
in
that.
Our business. And then you said you talked about 2 types of agents.
Okay.
Ones that work out of what they love and trying to figure out how to do what they hate.
Yep.
And then you gave 3 tricks to winning.
Cool. I can hit that. I can do that in 10 minutes. Here's how I think about this, you guys. The prospect of getting into a relationship with people is a wildly organic process. The challenge with it is that the process of getting out of a relationship with people is equally as organic. And the reason that this career is so difficult is because we ask you to get into a relationship with large groups of people, we call it a database, organically, but then stay in relation with those people unorganically. So we're literally asking you to break all the laws of nature and humanity. And y'all seem to find a way to do it every day, which is incredible. And I can demonstrate this. If y'all think back to high school, so Sydney's got to think back 3 years to high school. And we're there now. We go, okay, so I'm back in high school. Think about how many people you knew. Now, you might not have known them by what their favorite ice cream is, but you knew them because you saw them in the hallway every day. Think about how many people you actually knew. Now, I want you to think about how many of the people you knew in high school are you still amazingly close with today. Now, you might look up and say, I got 3 or 4 ride or dies with me. I still got that, like my crew. Cool. So there it is. It was organic for you to get into a relationship with that whole group, and it was equally as organic for you to get out of relationship with that whole group, and now you have 3 left. The challenge in a residential real estate business is you have to be in relationship at scale. And so when we talk about how to do that, we end up with this idea that this is what everybody is living on right now. And this is the day that they buy a house and y'all get paid and their wildest real estate dreams come true. Then this kind of denotes the very next day, which is that lead is quote unquote worth zero because no one buys a house the day after they buy a house. But every day after that, that lead goes up in value again until you get right here, which is the next time they buy a house. And in this country, these 2 points are separated by 3 to 7 years, depending on which market you're in. So the challenge that we have is how do we stay in relationship with these people during this period of time from here to here? And it's really, really hard, mainly because you all spend all of your time with the people that are right here. And the reason you do that is because these people need immediate attention. That's what an A buyer or an A seller is. And so, and they got problems, those people. Y'all are like professional fire putter outers. So it's like y'all are like fire people that only choose to work with arsonists. It's unbelievable what we've done here. But so the question then becomes, well, how in the world do I do this part? And the truth is, this whole section here, this is regulated by this idea of humanity, but more so, I'm trying to think of how I want to explain it to you guys. I want to give you just a basic understanding of the way people work. Is that when people get ready to do something, they do it with whoever's closest to them emotionally or physically at the time they're making the decision. It's a law. That's why, by the way, if those of you that have had kids, you ever know that you taught your kids better than what they did when they went out and did something stupid with their knucklehead friends? They just made a decision based on emotional proximity. I was closest to this person at that moment, we made a decision together. And emotional proximity pretty much dictates the entire rule of how people interact. You know this to be true. You guys actually live it whenever you go shopping. If you have a Nordstrom in your town or a Saks or wherever it is y'all go, when you walk in and someone says, "Can I help you?" and then you immediately say no, which is, of course, lying. Like you're not just there for the weather. But so you say no, and then you walk around the store for 10 or 12 minutes, and then at some point you want to get into the fitting room to try something on. But the fitting rooms are always locked because y'all rich folks steal too. It's okay. Read through it. So you want to get into the room. The question is, in that moment, what do you do? And you know what you do. You look around for someone who can let you in, usually irritated that you even have to look for them, but you look around. So here's the question. Do you care whether it was the person that you greeted at the front door or anyone with a set of keys to the fitting room will do? If you're like everyone on the planet, anyone with a set of keys will do. So think about that for a minute, because y'all are in commission businesses. What you didn't say is, I should really go find Jimmy, who introduced himself to me right when I walked in, because he may be on commission and he has procuring cause. You didn't say any of that. You just jumped into the fitting room with whoever could satisfy your needs at your moment of need. You didn't give a thought to anyone but yourself. It's okay. That's the law of emotional proximity. You didn't even think anything about it. Yet we would hold the exact same consumer in contempt if they did it to us in our industry. And so as soon as you come to this realization, you're forced to try to kind of figure out, well, how do I stay in emotional proximity with people? The mistake the industry has made up to this point is they've called it a touch program. They said, I have no idea when someone's going to do something. And let's just capture that real quick. The reason people move has been the same since they were switching caves. They move because they have life events. They get a job, they lose a job, they get rich, they get poor, they find love, they get divorced, they have a kid, they become an empty nester. These are the reasons, same reasons you moved. It isn't that they're moving because you became an agent. They're not like, well, I wasn't going to move, but then Sydney got licensed, so I'm in. That's not a thing. So the question becomes, you don't know when they're going to have these life events. Which means that up to this point, the entire industry has said, well, because we don't know, we're just going to send so much stuff that whenever it happens, we're only a couple of weeks away from them getting a postcard of us holding a lapdog. And that will ensure us getting the business. That's not really a strategy that would inspire. And by the way, I say that with all deference because up to this point, it's been the cornerstone of all of our businesses because I send out a picture of me with my lap dog. His name is Dr. Hank Cooper Reardon Abrams, and he's a fantastic animal. And I think people see him and he makes them smile. And I think that when people smile, I have a better chance of doing business with them because of a simple rule. People do business with people they like. That's it. So my focusing question becomes, how do I be more likable to more people more often? I know what you're thinking. You're thinking this guy's an idiot. This is wildly oversimplicated. Yeah, I think we simplicate things. And you're like, why doesn't he say simplify? Because people seem to forget that it's okay to simplify. And so I use a different word to try to get your attention. The truth is, all the best things in life are the simplest, yet everything naturally wants to become more complicated. So the essence of this is, how do I stay in contact with them so I'm more likable and I'm in closer emotional proximity, either physically or emotionally, when they need to make a decision? So let's talk about it for a second. The key to being more liked by more people more often is by giving them things that are needed and useful. Right? If you're not going to take any notes today, I get it. Write down the word needed and useful. And the way that I came to this conclusion is there's a definition of compensation that I really like. Because when someone says to me, Jason, how do I sell more houses? What I hear in my head is, you don't think you're fairly compensated. By the way, same with 62% of the American populace. They don't think they're fairly compensated either. So then how do you derive whether they are or not? I'm going to give you a definition that I really like. You don't have to write it down. Just internalize it. Compensation is something you get for something you give. Right there, by the way, if you just taught that to every new agent, their heads would explode because they don't think of it that way. It's something you get for something you give. Listen to this. It's repayment, not payment. It's repayment for a contribution that you made that is both needed and useful. And you could just stop there, but if you wanted to keep going, it's derived from four things, only four. Number one, the need for your service. Number two, your proficiency at providing it. How good are you at this job? Number three, the difficulty in replacing. And number four, the number of people you get to serve. So at any point in your life, whether it's your kid or your assistant or your business partner or the realtor that you're mentoring, anytime someone comes to you and says, I'm not making enough money here, or heck, you go in and say, I got to pay you less. The question, I always then pull out those four things and say, well, help me walk through this. And let's just play the game. Let's play the game with Gary Keller. Why not? Okay? The need for his service. At KWRI, we tend to rely on him for a lot. It turns out, kind of an important guy to what we're doing here. So we need him. Good. How good he is at providing it. Well, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone better. And I say that no matter which brand I'm talking to, and it's pretty much universally agreed because a lot of his models and systems, they power the industry, not just this company. The difficulty of replacing him. I don't know who would do it. Don't get me wrong. We talk about it here all the time. Who would look good in a mustache? We just haven't found that right human yet. So it's really hard. The number of people he gets to serve. He serves the largest ecosystem the world's ever known under one brand. So if you're like, okay, check. So how much should that guy make? We debate it all the time here because we're a profit share company. And so we always say, well, how much do we want to pay Gary this year? He loves that conversation. It fills him with joy. But I'm just saying, now you get it. Tom Brady, love him or hate him. Turns out there's a need for his service. There's only 32 starting quarterbacks in the world for the NFL. His proficiency, hard to make an argument anyone's better. We could all apply. Difficulty of replacing him, good luck. How many people he gets to serve. It turns out anytime 80 million people tune in to watch you work, you're going to be fine. So now we understand how it works. So when you look up and say, okay, cool, let's bring this back to our industry. Here's what I would say to you. The need for your service. Well, when it comes to in transaction, I think you're wildly needed. What happens during this 3 to 7 years? What service are you providing that they still need? And if you say none, just understand it's not good. Then you go to the next one. How good are you at performing it? Well, y'all are absolute ninjas in performing during a transaction. But if you don't even know what your offering here is, then how good could you possibly be performing it? Number 3, the difficulty in replacing you. I think you are impossible to replace during a transaction. Hell, half of you hang locked boxes on people's houses with keys in it that they couldn't remove if they wanted to. Try replacing you people. Outside of the transaction, I still have no idea what you provide, and so I think it's really easy to replace you. How many people you get to serve. That's just lead generation. And so now we look up and we say, well, heck, then to be here means that I have to go through and make a list. So here's step number 1. Make a list of every touch that you're doing. Then next to each one of those touches, write down needed and useful and put a check mark. Is this touch needed? Is it useful? And if at the end of you analyzing your 36 or 72 touch program or whatever it is, you don't have very many needed or useful, that's the moment you get to start making a change in your business. And you'll naturally say, well, so then what are those things? I'm seeing people get so creative around the United States right now. We got one agent out of Hawaii. Twice a year, they call every single person in their data bank in a TCPA-friendly and compliant way, and then they offer to come pick up any large junk items that the homeowner couldn't remove from their house on their own. And they literally bring movers to move the stuff out. Do you have anything in your house that's too big for you to throw away that you want gone? We'll come pick it up and remove it for you free of charge. That is wildly useful for somebody. It's also wildly needed. And you know what? Who takes them up on it the most? The people that are decluttering and getting ready to sell. He does the same thing with shredding. He calls twice a year and says, I'll drive by your house with a shredding truck and you can get rid of any documents that you've been keeping in the house. We'd like to help you declutter. People say no all year long. Then someone says yes, they come up with 11 grocery bags of statements. Guess what? They're getting ready to sell. How about the toxic chemicals they have in their garage? Once a year, he picks up all of the paint cans, paint thinners, and all of the bugs, all the stuff, and then takes it to the place in his county that will dispose of it responsibly. And he gets to demonstrate him taking care of their house and their planet in that moment. I think that stuff is so smart. Mr. Whatever It Takes in Arizona, Mr. Whatever It Takes, who's a 27-year-old kid who made $3.5 million last year with just an admin. Okay? My first cousin, by the way. So I know it's true because I audited the heck out of it. And had he not gotten thrown out of college for cheating, who knows what would have happened to him. We took him, threw him into a call center, turned him into a killer, and now he's still a killer. Here's what he does. He calls everyone and he says, hey, I thought it was my job to sell you a beautiful home. I was wrong. I think now it's my job to help you live beautifully within the homes I sell you. So would you mind if I send someone over to clean your gutters free of charge this year? Friends, that is needed and useful. He was sending Costco knives prior to that, spending the same money. And by the way, I have the $2,600 Costco block. I love all of it, including the spreader, which I think is one of the most underutilized knives. That said, this is so much better. My idiot realtor, David Voorhees, he sent me a postcard that said it's time to clean your gutters. I love that, by the way. The next realtor who sends a to-do list to my house, I'm going to their house, and I'm going to give them a list of things to do. You see the difference between what Mr. Whatever It Take does and what Mr. Voorhees does? I'm just saying. By the way, I love David. So this is the kind of thing we have to think about, what's needed and what's useful. Because here's the deal, and then I'm going to show you how I think about it. This right here is where we are today. And where we are today is the number of people in our data bank. That's number one. The quality of the touches we make. It's number two. That's what we're talking about right now. David's a great guy. The quantity of the touches that we make. That's it. The number I have in my system, the quality of the touches I make, the quantity by which I make them. That's all we have. And no one can say, I don't have that. Yes, you do. We all know where we are today. And this right here equals X number of repeat and referral business. Do we all agree on how I got there? Thumbs up if you agree. Great. That's where we are today. Where do you want to go? I know where I want to go. I want to go to the $1 million data bank. Data bank. It's a data bank because we make deposits in the form of touches in case we get to be lucky enough to make a withdrawal, which is actually repeat and referral. So what's the $1 million data bank? The $1 million data bank is what the actual number needs to be in order to make the quality of touches I'm going to make based on the quantity by which I'm going to make them to give me $1 million in repeat and referral business every year from now on. This is where I'm at. This is where I'm going. You know, I see teams every day, and I'm like, I go through their P&Ls, and I'm like, what's this? And they're like, well, I'm on this company that rhymes with Whomtown. And I'm like, I love that for you. Tell me about that journey. Well, I love it. I buy leads from them all the time. And I'm like, leads or names? Names, perfect. So you buy those. Well, how much do you spend? Well, I have an ad spend. I spend $1,000 a month. Great. When are you going to be done spending it? Huh? When are you going to be finished? Well, I'm not. Well, you're stupid. And they say, well, what do you mean? No, I'm not. And I'm like, well, sure you are. I don't understand. Are you in business to buy the leads, or are you in business to make a certain amount of money? I want both. Nope. Nope. You know how I know? Because if I gave you the leads for free, you wouldn't complain. Yeah, great, cool. So maybe it's not $1 million for you. Maybe what you're saying is it'll never be enough for you. And so you constantly think you need to grow this number. Is that what you're saying? Kinda. Cool. Well, let's just be clear. These are just levers. Like, you could have terrible quality made inconsistently, and if this number is big enough, you'll still make the right amount of money. You can run a crappy business and still make money. I just don't know why you'd want it. Not when it's as easy to run a good business and make more. And then people always say, you know, Jason, I don't need to make $1 million. I'd be happy with less. You do you, boo. I love that for you also. But here's the deal. I've never met anyone that makes $1 million that says, you know, I had decided early on that I was going to cap it. I only need to make 600. So I'm going to give the other 400 away. I'd feel good about that. I've never met that person. And if, by the way, if that's you, that's awesome. Think about all the lives you could change. I think that would be great. I also, whenever I say this, I turn some folks off and they say, well, I'm in this business. I'm in this to help people. And I'm like, I sell houses to make cash. I then use that cash to buy investments that appreciate or give off cash flow. And they say, well, I do this because I love helping people. What I just said doesn't negate the fact that I like helping people too. I just haven't met anybody that likes helping them so much that they assign all of their commission to credits on the HUD for the buyer or the seller. I'm a capitalist, which means I work for money. And if I get to help people along the way, I love that for me. So let's just now be clear. It would be awesome if all of us had this set it and forget it business. And there's very few people that would say, I don't want that. So then why don't we get there? Here's why. In order to get to this number, we have to somehow get enough people in the system. So what happens is most people have no idea what their strategy is, and they spend all their time thinking about their tactics. And what I mean by that is if I taught a class, someone will come up to me in the end and say, should I be doing more open houses? And I'm like, yeah. And then someone else comes up and is like, well, should I be running Facebook ads? I'm like, yeah. Someone else comes up and says, should I be doing client events? And I'm like, yeah. The truth is, everything's a yes. Absent of a strategy, every tactic is the right idea. But you need to know your strategy. There's only 3 in real estate. Number 1, I have enough people in my database to get the amount of repeat and referral business to make the amount of money I want. And so that's my strategy. All my tactics are then loving on those people. Strategy number 2 is I don't have enough people. I don't. So I got to meet strangers and add them to the system. Strategy number 3 is I want to be so rich that I do both at the same time. I don't spend a lot of time on strategy number 3. So for you right now, which is it? Do you have enough people in your system with the right quality touches and the right quantity to make the amount of money you want? If you do, then you should look up. And if you said to me, Jason, should I be doing more open houses? I'd say no. Jason, should I be door knocking? No. Jason, should I be running ads on Facebook to meet strangers? No. But if you said, should I do client events? Yeah. You should be doing one every single month. Micro events, 3 or 4 people from your database that you get to know deeply, as opposed to 300 people that all get a candy goodie bag. That's what you should do. Okay. Should I be calling all my people quarterly? Yes. Well, I don't have enough people. I'm choosing strategy too, Jason. Should I do open houses? Yeah. Should I be running Facebook ads to meet strangers? Yes. Should I do client events? No. The tactic is informed by the strategy. And if you wake up every day and say, in order to get where I want to go, I got to do a whole bunch of things I don't like, I think that's really misguided. And I think that's the question that so many realtors ask. And I know you guys, your top agents, a lot of you are coaching other agents. If your focusing question is, how do I wake up every morning and force myself to do an activity that I don't like, so one day I earn the right to not do, I think that's a stupid question. I never understood that way of thinking. If you want to wake up and do things you don't like, there are places for that. They're called prison. They'll have you do stuff you don't like all day for years. This thing of ours was supposed to be, I want to be my own boss. I want to make my own hours. Yeah. So if you look up and you love golfing, you love putting on a white pants and an orange belt and you look good, you should do more of that. You should golf 3 times a week with 3 strangers or 3 people from your database every time you golf, and connect with 12 people doing something that you love every week, and look up at the end of the year and have something added, 700 people, deepen your relationship. You'll love your life. And by the way, golf's not for everyone. I met a kid in Grand Rapids, Michigan. He loves board games. Wait, I don't. I'm an adult. But he loves board games. So literally what he does is every Wednesday, he found a local bar where they let him set up on high top tables board games. And other people leave work and come over there for a beer, play a couple of games of Sorry and Guess Who. And I think it's twisted and bizarre, but they love it. Who's to say now? If the internet has taught us anything, it's that no matter what weirdness you're into, there's a chat room for you. So if people do business with people they like, and the essence of being liked is shared experience, and you wake up every day doing things you don't enjoy, why is anyone going to like you? If you hate calling people and you tell yourself, I got to call them every quarter to check in, let me just tell you, you're not actually being liked by more people. You don't think they can tell? Of course they can tell. We're humans. We're constantly bringing in sensory to figure out if the experience we're having is real or not. So I guess how about this? What if you took it all the way down to the most simple and you simply graded your day by how many people in my database did I make smile today that wouldn't have smiled if I wasn't involved? And you're like, well, this guy's an idiot. That's never going to work. Oh, why not? You think that this is anything more than a popularity contest? It's called life. People do business with people they like. And if you don't want to make people smile, love that for you. Go hire a Care Bear. Remember with the rainbow? Show their check. Go get one of those and hire that person and say your only job is to make people in my database smile every day. The key to it, though, is that they attribute the smile to me, not you, because I'm the one paying. Go figure it out. Let me know how it goes. I'll tell you what, these days, and if any of administrators are on the phone, don't take this the wrong way. I love y'all. But now that I can go a la carte for my transaction services, if I want somebody to do my contract closing, my first hire might not be a great administrative person. My first hire might just be a Care Bear. Go get me more repeat and referral business. I'll figure out someone to do my paperwork. I don't know. That's how I think about it.
That's good stuff, man. One follow-up, final question. I know you have to go. You've given us a ton of time.
Okay.
I had a brain lapse. I was sparked off something you said like
that's how I know
45
you.
seconds
That's
ago.
how you know I bombed. He's like, I can't remember.
No.
People intelligent thing you said.
Look, I write so fast I forget what I was going to ask.
Here, let me give you a quick model, because every time
Anyways.
I speak, and it's not you, but it happens in other groups. I'm sure not this one. People take a bunch of notes. Here's the challenge with that. Notes are things you take copious amounts of and you never refer back to. Love them, by the way. But it's very possible, and you've met some of these people, that take amazing amounts of notes, but their life never is any better. They never get richer and they never have any more time. Those are the two things you want. More money, more time. So here's what I would tell you. Whenever you do anything, you should have notes, because writing all that stuff down is really important, because that's how you internalize it. But you also need to have a parking lot. And the parking lot document is the things that you write down that you're either going to question or that you're going to take action on. And at the end of every class, you ask all the questions and then cross them out. That's called cleaning the parking lot. And then the stuff you're going to take action on, you stop and you write down the one thing you're going to do. And then you put that in your calendar. If you follow, Jay Papasan taught that, blew my mind. Because I would go into all these meetings with Gary and I would leave and I'd have all these notes and he would always not. And, he would say, Gary doesn't care whether you take notes or not. Are you taking the notes for him or you? And I said, well, me. And he said, well, what do you do with them? I was like, I don't know. Shut up, Jay, jerk. And he was like, exactly. No one does anything with them. Let me teach you. And he taught me the parking lot and it changed my life. I hope that helps someone on this call.
Tell me.
It is.
Hey, listen, man, I can't thank you enough for spending, 30 minutes with us today. I know you're a super, super busy guy. And I see you just put your phone number and your email in the chat if anybody needs anything.
Yeah. If you guys want to email me, it's Mark King, all one word, at KW.
So seriously, thank you, man. And if everybody on the call, this is what this call is about every week. It's all kinds of leaders in different industries and wealth building and